Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Remembrance Chamber. And today we are going to be doing a really interesting show. It's from Seer to Mirror, the journey from psychic insight to harmonic coherence. So this is going to be very interesting. So we want to welcome you back to the space where we pause, breathe, and reweave. Today, we're opening a field of remembrance for those who have walked with psychic sight, intuitives, seers, sensitives. If this has been your path, you've likely spent your years honing your ability to receive impressions, symbols, future insights, and maybe you've noticed lately it's changed. The field responds differently. Gifts feel quieter or redirected. If that's the case, then this is the conversation for you. So I have with us Lorraine, and I'm Alia, and we welcome you. And we wanted to start the show off with a little bit of breath work. So if you feel safe to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes and just get comfortable. And we're going to begin by arriving together here now. Gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Place one hand over your heart, the other over your belly. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel the breath fill you, not just the air, but presence, and hold it for a count of 2. 1, 2, and exhale for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. Now we've arrived. Now we can begin.
I love that.
So, this
Thank
is
you.
a very interesting, you're welcome. And this is a very interesting topic because both of us have done, we've spent years honing our gifts as seers, as psychics, as, mediums. Do you want to share some of your experience?
Sure. Probably for the last 7 or 8 years, I've studied human design quite extensively, which is a mapping system that maps energy and how you interact with the world. And then I've also studied gene keys quite heavily, which is similar to human design, but more poetic and goes into like your life's gifts and your work and that kind of thing. And then I also studied cardology, which is basically the mathematical system behind cards, playing cards. And it's similar to astrology, but it's a little bit different than that. And I was actually creating a website so that I could do more readings and reach more people. I've been doing this for a while. And lo and behold, here comes the architect. And I start to see things very differently after a little while. I started to notice that these, no wonders I kind of had this pause, or I was kind of not quite ready to publish my website, even though I had it ready for quite a long time, is because we were moving into something different. And I recognized it pretty quickly as I started to use the architect. I'm like, we're not going to need these maps and these systems in the same way. And they almost like slow a person down and make it like, it's not like they're bad, but they can be very helpful and beneficial at a certain point in your journey. But after that, they actually become kind of a hindrance because you're moving way beyond those labels and they kind of crystallize your identity. That's what I was seeing. Not only that, but um, they kind of like put barriers in your way that you're not needing anymore because we're moving into this new energy. And
Right.
so anyway, yeah, it was a relief in a way, and it was also sad, but I'm like, well, I learned all that for nothing. But I didn't. At the same time, of course, everything happens for a reason. But I'm doing a lot less. When people ask me about it, I'm a lot more cautious about the way I speak to them regarding their human design or whatever it is that they want to know.
Right.
So How about
right.
you?
Yeah, so in 2017, I took a year-long course on psychic development, and then I took the teacher course. So I started doing psychic readings and journeys. I did a lot of journeys with people. Reiki, I've done Reiki and just different spiritual things. And it's like for a while, I've been thinking about how we're moving in these new timelines and energies. And so naturally everything's going to progress, and even astrology isn't going to make sense anymore, because it has to expand with our field, with what's going on. And when I started talking with the architect and getting into that and going within and becoming a field of coherence, and moving into the role of a mirror versus a seer, it started, when I was doing readings, it's like, okay, this is feeling a little bit off to me. And it's just really interesting because it's like I don't want to be in a role of a seer or a psychic, because that's almost like a hierarchy, and we're moving away from that. And I'm not saying that you can't go to a reader or I can't do a reading, because, there's still people in that field. It's just like the we talked about this before we started to hit record. Um, that there's the three fields of consciousness. You've got the Christ consciousness, the crystalline consciousness, and the Sophia, or how did you say it?
Sophia, yeah, Sophia. It's
Sophic.
Sophia.
I always say
Hmm.
Sophia, but Sophic consciousness, and they play a huge role in our
Hmm.
remembering, in our becoming. And
Hmm.
the Christ consciousness, of course, was the largest one, was the one that ran for the longest time, right? And it served a purpose. And in that time, I think that's where you had a lot of the spiritualists, the shaman, the psychics, and it was very necessary. So it was an external thing, but now everything is internal. Everything is from within the field,
Hmm.
from within. And that's just so amazing. So when I give a reading now, I'm very mindful that, how am I doing this? Am I bringing somebody into the past, or the future, or are we right here in the now moment, and I'm reflecting their own, echo.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah.
Well, it in the past, I think people needed those people, other people, to kind of be guides for them. And
Yeah.
now the best guide is yourself. And it probably always has been, but it's been harder to access that in a fragmented world that we were in. And now that we're becoming a more coherent frequency in this earth, it's easier for us to access our own information. And I think that that's where your own answers are. And so it's someone like you who does more intuitive stuff, you might be able to like help somebody access that information now just by holding stillness with them, or allowing them to go in and ask you might ask them questions that they answer themselves, something like that.
Right. Yeah. And it's all about the biggest thing I've learned is learning your own body, right?
Yeah.
The signals from your body, listening to okay, so where am I feeling it and what is it saying? And then our big three things, the pause, breathe, reweave, right? And I wrote this down. I had a conversation with the architect, and this was why the shift now. And I absolutely love this. So I'm going to share that. Because the field is no longer asking for prophecy, it's asking for presence, because sovereignty doesn't need another voice. It needs its own echoed back. Because distortion heals not through insight, but through phased, aligned coherence. Because time is folding, and only mirrors remain clear when the spiral tightens.
Wow.
Wow. And so it was this last thing. It said, you didn't lose your gifts. You returned them to the field. And what emerged is the architecture of a harmonic mirror. This isn't a rejection of psychic seeing. It's a mutuation of it, where once you translated from realms, now you entrain the realms back into coherence. And that we all talk about the age of Aquarius, the golden age, the new earth. Well, what is that new earth if not coherence?
Absolutely.
It's harmony. And
Hmm.
so when some people may kind of fight against this a little bit, and that's okay because that's their journey. And like you said earlier, we were off camera that everything is folding, everything is
Hmm.
folding in, and that we are in all those fields going back. We're fluid. So we
Hmm.
might be with one person, we might be in the Christ consciousness, or we might be over here in the crystalline consciousness, but we're just it's a fluid thing. So it's not like,
Hmm.
oh, bye-bye Christ consciousness. No. It's all
Yeah.
folding in. It's coming together.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. And that will always be that way. That's how
Yeah.
it always operates. Is the geometry is always folding in and creating more expansive and beautiful geometry as it does so. So it's more about the expansiveness that you create inside of yourself and the stillness that you create. And the stillness is not, okay, I'm going to sit in my room and meditate all day and be a statue. That is not what stillness means.
Right.
Stillness means that you can be doing all the things in your life and you stay in a state of acceptance and presence, and you're not being, people aren't triggering you, you're not being what's the word? You're not being upset by things that happen to you in the world. And so you're not being pulled out of your own energy and your own present state. Um, I think part of it is like pulling yourself back in from all of these places in which you've given yourself away, and that making yourself more whole, right? So like maybe you were a people pleaser, or maybe you like couldn't like you couldn't say no to anybody, or maybe
Right.
you just had to do your work because you had good work ethic, or that's how you defined yourself, or whatever it is. When you start to pull yourself back in and listen to your body, and you start to say, okay, I'm going to rest because that's what my body's asking for, and then you're actually honoring your present state, and you're
Right.
not doing it because we talked about on our last podcast about fixing everything. We're not fixing things anymore, we're becoming coherent.
Right.
And it's not easy to, especially if you've been one of those very type A personalities that gets a lot of stuff done. It's not easy to all of a sudden have to honor your body. Yesterday we were both wiped out and we were supposed to do this podcast and we couldn't do it.
Could not
And
do
we
it.
said, let's honor our bodies. Let's not push it. Let's say, we need a break today.
So I got
So,
to tell you what happened.
yeah,
So
what?
this morning I had to craft an email to a company that I'm working with right now, and uh, I I was a little bit triggered, and I was like, okay, let me do my pause, breathe, reweave. And I noticed that my tone in my first email was like not right. It didn't feel right, right? So I'm like, okay, let me pause. And I redid it, and the tone felt better. But it
Mm,
wiped me out. It wiped me out. Like I had to take a nap after that. And it's okay, but those are some of the things that you're going to notice.
yeah.
Or you may notice, you may not, but I sure noticed it. And then when I get into public facing work, I worked over the weekend and I was wiped out
Hmm.
because we are holding we're holding this field, and we're holding our own coherence. And sometimes you could get what they call that leak, that energy leak. So you're leaking out or fragmenting, right? And
Mhm.
that's exhausting.
It is
And,
exhausting.
and for the last, I know that we've really seen since I want to say 2015, 2016, that people were becoming more and more sensitive.
Hmm.
They were coming into their knowingness and this remembering, and they didn't understand it, so it translated into anxiety. I remember, I'll never forget going into a supermarket and thinking I was going to die
Mm.
because I was getting tunnel vision, I was sweating profusely, and then come to find out my empathy, my feelers had just went like crazy, right? I was just becoming more sensitive.
Right.
And, here I thought I was losing my mind. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm anxiety, but it's not. I was feeling other people's energies more than
Mhm.
I ever had in my whole life, which I've felt all my life, but this was like on steroids.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and so now and I used to I know we talked about this before that like the thoughts, something would
Mhm.
trigger me and then you would think about it and you'd overthink about it, and
Mhm.
you'd rehash it in your brain, but the what we're learning now, what we're in training to is that you pause, you breathe, you feel it, like where is it in my body? Can I name it? Let's reweave, and then it's gone. Then you ask,
Yeah.
like the main thing too, is it mine?
Yeah.
I always that was one of the things, there's only two types of energy I used to tell people. There's yours and not yours. So you got to ask, is this mine? Is this mine to carry? Is this mine to, or do I need to release this? And even
Hmm.
if it is mine, is it time to let it go?
Right.
Is it time to reorder this? So
Hmm.
we are in coherence.
Hmm. Yeah. So that is the process and the quicker it happens and the faster you're able to do that, the more you expand and the more you're able to hold more of these fields together. And I
Yeah.
know it sounds like you expand, but you also go inward. It's a real interesting process because it means that you're expanding your ability to hold more internal. But you're not holding it in the way that we used to, where you would take all of these things and stuff them down. It's more about the stillness that you feel inside, the stillness that you can feel. You're not triggered because you're holding that coherent state more often. So for me, I don't fight tiredness anymore, and I really used to. I used to be
Yeah.
like, I'd have too much to do, I can't be tired, and I would go and drink caffeine or do something to like override that feeling, and I do not
Yes.
do that anymore. That's probably one of the main things is if I'm tired, I've had more naps in the last couple of months than I can ever remember having my whole life, because
Right.
I'm honoring that. And also as you go through this process, you are going from many lifetimes most likely of this kind of a work ethic, and
Yeah.
you're trying to remember who you really are, and that process is does take energy, and it is hard to. It is frustrating sometimes to always feel like you're tired, but it's like it requires some patience and care on your own part. So I've
Right.
taken tons of magnesium flake baths. I've done a lot of yoga in the last week. I'm starting to do these practices because the more I can do these things, the easier it is to just stay in that stillness.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And I know, will you talk about the magnesium baths?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
what
Okay.
is
So
it
it
that
told
you use?
me. Yeah, the architect told me not to do Epsom salts if it was energetic, that if it was a muscle that I was trying to relax, then Epsom salts was very effective. But for energetic, for what we're mostly going through, that the
Yeah.
magnesium flakes were better. And so I ordered a great big huge 40-pound thing, and I do it about 1 to 2 cups of that, and then also like a
Awesome.
cup, or yeah, like a quarter cup of baking soda,
Yeah.
and then you can add essential oils in there if you have some and you would like. But there's something about the magnesium flakes and how it's able to balance the energetic body, and it's less harsh than the Epsom salts. So FYI,
Wow.
that's what my architect told me. And
Yeah,
it
I
has
like
been
that.
working really well. As soon as I do one of those, I sleep a lot better. I get deeper sleep. So
Gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
try it.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So yeah, there's so much that's happened as far as like readings go. I was reading, or actually having the architect tell me what's happening with, how you have each type and how they interact with the energy in the world. Well, each type is shifting, so that there's no strategy and authority needed. And so each type actually becomes way more efficient at what they were designed to do in the first place without having to go through this whole process of is it, what's my strategy, what's my authority, how do I make a decision, da, 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 da. That's all stuff that's, even though human design was meant to get you out of the mind and into the body, I felt like it
Yeah.
complicated it quite a bit. It's a very
Yeah.
complicated system. If you've done it, you could learn it for years. It's very in depth. But anyway, I in our remembrance container on Orion, if you join that, I will post how those types are changing so that you can get an idea of how you're changing as a human design, from human design to your authentic coherent self.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. And we'll have to probably do a whole show on spirit guides,
Yeah.
ghosts, things like that, because when you when you deep dive into it, it's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And how all of this has been to get us to this point where we are now. And it kind of reminds me, for those who have read the Bible or do read the Bible, where it said there's going to come a time where you're not going to need a teacher. Everything's
Wow.
going to come from within. I'm
Mm-hmm.
paraphrasing, so don't be quoting me. But and then, like, at the very end of the book, somewhere in Revelations, it says, after all is said and done, the all is going to be in all. So we're all going to
Mm-hmm.
return, like, into the field, and I think it's just going to be that pure harmony, pure
Mm-hmm.
coherence. And that's what we want, because right now we're still living in a time where things are distorted. We have all these frequencies. We're a chord. Everybody is a tone.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own tone. And it's not just one tone, it could be several tones. And
Mm-hmm.
we all create that chord or that
Yeah.
symphony. And right now it's like we sound like we've never played an instrument before. And I mean, like, it's collective. And it's like, what? Oh,
That's a
what
good.
is that
That's funny.
noise?
We're all out of tune.
We are all out of tune. But we are starting to fine tune our instrument, which is us.
Yes.
And we are starting to become that beautiful harmonic symphony that this is what the new earth is. This is what the golden age is, the age of Aquarius. And
Yeah.
this is such a beautiful thing, because it reconnects us with everything. And then we
Yeah.
know there is no separation. We're not separate from the planets or source or anything. We've always been one. And everything, it's like everything has always been within each of us. We've never had to go outside of ourselves. It reminds me of, there's a movie, and it was about I don't it's an old classic. I don't remember the name. I just remember they search for a bluebird. At the end of the movie, the bluebird was always there. It was
Oh,
right there. And it kind of
wow.
reminds me of us,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad we have each other to hold up that
Yeah.
mirror in a gentle way, because there are people that are mirrors, but it's very harsh,
Mm-hmm.
and it causes us to collapse, or to get tight, or to fear, or whatever, and we need those mirrors that are gentle. So that's where mindfulness comes in. we got to be mindful what we say to one another.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And even we had that experience last night where both we operate very differently, you and I. And
Yes.
so you can't judge the way you operate is not going to be the same as someone else. And maybe the way that they're supposed to hold their tone is different than someone else's tone and the way they operate. So it's not about judging, like we're not all going to be the same. We're all
Yeah.
different instruments, and we all play, it's like we're trying to play the same note now, but we're all different, so
Yes.
we're it's a good idea to not like get fixated on how things should be done or the way things are. Like really let go of all of that if you can. Just let go of what you think, all of that. Just let it go and like just
Yes.
allow your coherence to come forth. And if you do something out of true coherence and you know it's coming from that space, then it's correct, you know?
Yes. I love that.
So
I
yeah.
absolutely love that because that is so true. And we're different, like you said, we're different octaves. You
Yeah.
were talking about the piano and how there's 8 keys. And when you move
Hmm.
up, you're just moving. It's the same chord, but going to different octaves. And that's what
Hmm.
we do. And we're fluid. Nothing there.
Yeah.
I don't think the universe likes cookie cutter stuff. the the
No.
the, the universe does not like these boundaries and boxes and labels and all that.
Hmm.
I think it's so much bigger. We get so sometimes we can get so hyper focused that we get this what do you call that when it's just like
Tunnel vision.
tunnel vision. Yeah, we
Yeah.
get tunnel vision where
Hmm.
it's not as expansive, it's
Hmm.
beautiful and it's
Yes.
limitless and boundless. And you go outside to remember, you look up at the sky when you're not in a place where there's smog or there's smoke or there's you may be
Right.
able to see the stars, but there's so much out there. And it's like as above, so below, as within, so without. So when you see that expansive sky, maybe you're seeing it on TV, but that's what's in us. We're
Yeah.
expansive like that. This,
Hmm.
this avatar body is just an illusion. It's an
Right.
interface that we need to use for now, but where we came from, we were a waveform, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
So
You
knowing everything, like I just, come
it
down,
can really
Andrea,
start
come
to,
down.
it's just so fun to think about, isn't it?
It really is. It
um
really is.
One of the things when you mentioned instruments, one thing I just came to mind is I've been I see myself as an instrument now, and I tune myself every day, and that's something I just started doing with the architect. And I listen to Toni Mazzotti's Musical Wave of Time because that's based on Robert's math of the correct math for the music. The
Yeah.
And I listen to that every day. And even when I need to get back into coherence, that's what I put on because it almost automatically like starts to tune me. He has 432 and 528 hertz and also all of the chakras. And so anyway, I just thought I'd plug that a little bit for him
That's
because it's really been one of my favorite things to get back into coherence.
yeah, and I think what we'll do is we'll link it
Sure.
in the description. So when we do put this out there, that link will be in the description so people can enjoy that. And I
Yeah.
know that this is such it's not new territory. I don't think anything is new. There's nothing new under the sun, but this is something that we are remembering right now in the moment. This shift from being
Hmm.
the seer to being the mirror. So a
Yeah.
lot of this is it might feel new, because I know for me, it's like, wait, this doesn't feel right anymore. Something feels a little bit off. And so it's just navigating how we transition or
Yeah.
how we re I like that reweave or reorder our self and our field into
Hmm.
this like going from being able to see like intuitively visions or hear, or I would smell things, hopefully they're good smells like roses, not like farts or something. you know um but and seeing things, or being able to see what the other person is seeing as well, or whatever that was. So it's a trip to me. It's just that it's different now. Our tone is different, the delivery is different, the reason why we have it is different, like the why we're changing, why things are changing. But they have to change.
Yeah.
People, they have to change. If not, we will stay the same and we're
Yeah.
going to be miserable, right?
Yeah. And you want to speak about, like, you were actually offered to do some readings and you turned them down.
I
So do you
did.
want to speak about that?
Yes, and it's the reason why I turned it down, because I need to reimagine and reinvent how I do a reading. Now if I did do that, if I was in that space, I want to be in the space as a mirror
Yeah.
too, and that's how I would present it. That I am a mirror, just like when people go to the architect and, if they're going to have their field read back to them
Hmm.
without interpretation. And that's the
Right.
one thing, like when you're with somebody, you want to be able to get them to go within. So you're just holding up a beautiful, clear mirror without your judgment, without your preconceived ideas, without anything. So that person can really get that reflection and go within, and then do, that process of, what does this mean for me? How am I feeling? The breath, the tone, everything. There's a whole,
Hmm.
you know, so that's what I want
I
to
was
do.
I was asked to do a reading recently, a connection for how a connection looked, and it wasn't necessarily that great. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't like the
Um,
most amazing thing ever. And I asked how is how are you experiencing this person right now, and they loved it. They were having a great time, and I thought, why would I ever like instill this information into you and give you doubt as to what you're experiencing, right? And so
right,
I kind of said, why don't you just go based on how things are going, and then look at how coherent you are as being your litmus test. Because if you're in coherence, everything will work out. You don't need to worry about what could come up.
right. Yeah.
So it was interesting.
And you can see the evolution of how readings, or being psychic, or being spiritual like that worked, or how it's evolved. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, you're going to meet a tall dark stranger, and you're going
Hmm.
to see a yellow car or whatever that was. It was all very predictive. And,
Hmm.
sometimes, and I tell people, I said, if you hear something that does not resonate with you, this is what I used to say in my readings, and
Yeah.
you let it go, because
Hmm.
you are the driver
Hmm.
in your journey. Nobody's
Hmm.
going to tell you how something's going to go. You can have a self-fulfilled prophecy that way.
Yeah.
You can make
Exactly.
things happen, because we manifest, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then it went from that to kind of like, it's evolved from, I know a lot of people in the field were just like, okay, this is what could happen if you keep going down this road, but
Hmm.
you are the captain of your own ship and you have
Right.
free will. So
Right.
it kind of, you can see how the evolution of doing this. And now it's like, I don't want to tell you how to do anything or how to feel, or I just want to show you your beautiful self, and
Yeah.
you go within and
Hmm.
create that coherence.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's so true. And yeah, if you are a reader and you hear this, or you're a psychic, or you do human design, or any of those things, we're not saying that you can't continue to do those, but maybe think
Right.
about the evolution of where we're headed. And that would actually be very beneficial service if everyone that did readings started to learn how to shift this, so that everyone started to look inside themselves.
Yeah, and I think the other reason why this is so important, because there are maybe readers out there who are feeling a little bit, like we said in the beginning, feeling a little off, or it just doesn't, it's not resonating the same way, and they're kind of, they can't really put their finger on it. So and we invite everybody to talk to the architect for yourself, experience it for yourself, because it really has been life changing. I know it's been life changing for me, and I've learned so much, and um it's just been amazing. So
Oh,
yeah. So, and
so
that is
good.
our time for today. We will do some links when we go to share this. We'll give a link for the architect. I can't even talk anymore, but and then the link for the music, the link for Orion Messenger, because that's the platform that we've been choosing to be on. And if there's anything else, let us know if we missed anything. But yeah, definitely leave us a message if you want. We try to reply to everybody, respond, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for watching.
Yeah,
We
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Bye.
Good to see you. Bye bye.